Welcome, everybody. It is Saturday, February 27th, 2021. This is the Love Coach Academy Masterclass series. And today we have the great Paul Sterling, who's going to be leading our class. And Paul, thanks for being with us. The spotlight is on you.
Good morning. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to dive into communication, compassionate communication. And I'm going to talk about the three different ways we communicate. It's like three different languages: from our head, from our heart, and from our hurt. And I'm going to go into the 5 mistakes that happen when that stop communication in its tracks and block any chance of intimacy. So we'll go back and forth, and this is a live interactive class. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring up the screen share. So if you can see the screen share, can you just give me a thumbs up so I make sure I can?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So I'm just wondering, how many of you have ever wondered why the people you love the most can also be the most difficult to talk to? Have any of you ever experienced that? And by the way, this is interactive. I can see you. So it's raising your hand, thank you, Ana Brava, or thumbs up, something like, there we go. So this is the topic of today. And part of the challenge is with what's going on today with the whatever we want to call it, COVID and the politics and all the rest of it, we're under more stress than ever. And so what we want in communication is we want things to be like this. We want to be able to, have this happy, easy communication with the people we love. And it ends up being more like this. Can you relate to that? A little amen, thumbs up, something like,
oh yeah.
There we go. So this is the interactive part. This is going to be the key foundation to the success of today's class. And it's not praying, but if you could all put your hands together for a second. And who wants to play with me on this one for a second? So, Ana Prava, I'm going to pick on you. All right. So everybody put your hands together like this. And when I say go, press really hard with your right hand. Ready, get set, go, press harder, press harder. Okay, stop. So Ana Prava, where were your hands?
Together.
When you stop.
Pressing together. Oh, the same place.
Why?
Resistance.
Well, what did I say to do? And this is critical to this whole conversation we're having today. I said, what was the instructions?
For my right hand to be pushing against my left hand.
What did your left hand do?
My left hand was resistant. It pushed back.
It pushed back. I didn't say push back, but here's the key to this whole conversation is as soon as we start to use force, what do we get? Resistance. And the whole idea of this compassionate communication is to avoid the resistance. So thank you, Ana Prava, for bringing it up. So it's like whenever we push hard, our partner will push back, or our kids will push back, or you know what? It even works with ourselves. Ana Prava's hand pushed, she pushed back. I'm going to go on a diet. No, you're not. I'm going to stop smoking, drinking, whatever it is. And we try to push, and then what pushes back? Oh, that cake looks good. So what we want to do today is look at this and look at how do we communicate so we don't build in resistance and force. And it's normal for this to happen. So when we get this right, when we get this wrong, here we go. And I'm setting this up. And by the way, it's going to be very interactive. Scott and I do it very differently. Scott dives right in and connects right from the heart. I'm a heady guy, so I connect from the head first. So hopefully you'll bear with me a little bit so I can get that part out of the way. But how many of you can relate to this? It starts with, get my pen going here. We don't feel heard, understood, and valued. And then what do? The harder we try to be heard, understood, and valued, the worse it gets. And so that ends up tripping our triggers because we don't feel valued or important, or the communication's falling apart. And we end up in a relationship that has constant conflict, erodes trust and intimacy. And then if you're anything like I used to be, it took weeks or months to recover. Can you connect to this? Just a little nod, a amen, whatever it is. Yeah. And when I grew up, I learned a lot of great stuff from my dad, and I learned some miserable stuff from my dad. And what I learned from my dad is like real men can hold grudges for weeks, maybe months, and punish the people they love by withholding love, affection, and attention. And we're going to punish them into better behavior. So if I can learn this stuff, almost anybody can, because that's the way I learned how to communicate from my dad. He said the best defense is a strong offense, and there was a lot of offensive communication in growing up. And in the end, it drove my parents apart. Even though they still loved each other, they got a painful divorce. So today is more about when we get it right. When we get it right, both of you feel heard, understood, and valued. And part of all of the teaching from Marshall Rosenberg, from Scott Thomas, all the rest of this is how do we meet triggers with courage and compassion and curiosity. And when you can do that, you end up feeling confident to repair upsets. Because if you're alive and if you're living with anybody or even dating anybody, there are going to be upsets and misunderstanding. It's just part of life, even the best communicators. And when you can repair, it ends up building trust and intimacy, and you can rebound in minutes. So if you're interested in that you're in the right place today. I'm going to give you one last big picture. Thank you, Deborah. I'm going to give you one last big picture, and then we're going to dive into hearing from each of you where you would like to have the breakthrough. I was in New York City with my beloved several years ago and got on the subway. Now, I don't know how many of you have been on the subway, but the subway is overwhelming. It's much more complicated than we wanted it to be. So what do you need to make the subway somewhat simple in New York City? So someone could wave their hand, call it out. Deborah, what is it?
A map and like which stations to get off at with color coding, like you did.
Exactly, a map. So there is, I think it's 872 miles of subway. There's 400 and some stations and 27 lines. So subways are more complicated than the New York subway, more complicated than I want it to be, but with a map, it's simpler. So this is the map. It may look a little complicated at first, but this is the map of relationships. And in the center is lasting love. And to have lasting love, we need to be available, capable, and willing. So that makes sense. Have you ever been in a relationship where someone wasn't available and you were? No fun. Or if they weren't capable or they weren't willing. So that's sort of the big picture. The next thing is the 3 circles: heart set, skill set, mindset. And in the heart set, and this is why I want to give you the big picture before we dive into communication. And we definitely, today is about communication, but I want you to get the big picture why we're communicating. So the number one reason to be in a relationship is to get your needs met. And in most relationships, we have needs as a friend, as a partner, and as a lover. And the idea here is to go from our needs feeling like a burden to feeling precious. So again, thumbs up if this is something you relate to, connect with, this is what you want. All right. So to do that, to have a remarkable relationship, you need remarkable relationship skills. Now there's tons of skills, But here's the most important three things the skills need to do. They need to help you clean up the past, connect and get present, create possibilities for the future. If you don't clear up the past, where does the past end up being? In the present. And it creates, if the past is in the present, there's no possibility for the future. Does that make sense? Then the last part that runs the whole show here, and Scott and I have talked about this a bunch of different ways. He describes a little different than me, but we have the same basic thought. I'm calling it your ROS, your relationship operating system. That is basically a combination of your habits, patterns, and beliefs. And this is what's running the show. And it's either sabotaging or supporting you. So it's important to uncover that. And we'll look at that because that also ties into the way we communicate. We have patterns of communication that either sabotage our relationship or support it. So what I'd love to do is I'm going to bounce back to the big screen and stop sharing for a second, but I'd love to hear, what did you get from that so far? What did you get out of just seeing that? So I'd love to hear from a few people what you got from seeing the big picture. Deborah. Whoops.
First of all, it's really clear. It's so helpful to put what's going on inside and all over the block and in our experiences into a map. It really does help. So what I got for me is, of course, I'm wanting lasting love. And I love breaking it down into the heart set and the mindset and the skill set. And like the willingness, that for us to be really willing to lean in with curiosity, to want to know my needs and the needs of my partner. And noticing just, I've been seeing this recently. If we bring the past into the present, it completely kind of jams out the possibilities. So finding a way to just like not have the past, which is definitely mine. The past is mine. And in the heart, we can be in the present. So I'll maybe that's enough of my share. Also clearing habits and beliefs and patterns so that we can be fresh and clear and available in the present.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Who else would like to share? One other share, and then we're going to dive in a little deeper here. And by the way, it's going to get to the point where we're interacting with all of us in the group share. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I disagree about the past being in the mind. Sometimes the past is actually in the body through pain and scars. It could be trapped in the emotions. So I don't think it's as easy as it just being in the mind. I think the past affects the present. And so you have to deal with all those effects.
All right. I'm not clear where was it something Deborah said or that I said about the past?
Oh,
being
no,
in
I
the
guess I
mind?
was responding to what Deborah had said about.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's about
I want to clarify something.
cleaning up the past, right?
Yeah.
Cleaning it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware that it's in the heart and the body and somatic awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're
Our
all.
mind will access it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll bring that up again. There are a lot of different places it is, and part of the work that we do, we've got people, love coaches that do a lot of the healing from the head, the heart, the body. Anna Prava is a sound healer, so
Yeah.
we want to deal with the whole thing. So, and part of that is the right tools. And I'm going to tell one tool story, and then we're going to dive into the actual tools. Oh, we got someone on. All right. So I was teaching, and some of you have heard this story before, but I was teaching in prison in Colorado. And I left one morning to go and teach. And on the way, I noticed I had I had had bacon for breakfast and bacon was stuck in my tooth. And so I'm driving along, and you ever had something that seems so little and trivial start to irritate you like crazy? And I was trying with my tongue and my fingernail, and it was finally I got out a business card and I'm trying with my business card, and um, the business card got wet and then it got wedged in there. So now I had, by using the wrong tool, the tool made it worse. So finally, after a half an hour of driving and trying to deal with it, I pulled over and got out a what? Now, this is not the exact type, but it was a toothpick. So with the right tool, how long did it take? About 30 seconds. And so a lot of times people are communicating, and including myself, in the past, I've used the wrong tool and made things worse. So today is to expand your toolbox and make things better. So that, and you're getting a huge view of the tools that I typically use, and then we're going to dive into one tool in particular. But if you want to create a remarkable relationship, there are 7 core tools that, after doing this for almost 28 years now, I've narrowed it down to. And we're going to focus today mainly on communication, but also on needs. But every relationship's got conflicts, wounds, trust issues, intimacy, and dealing with differences. If you can master those 7, it will transform the world of relationships for you. Because great relationships need great skills. You know, you can be, I'm a really good person. I'm handsome. I'm smart. I'm capable. You would not want me drilling on your teeth because I'm not trained to be a dentist. And it's the same in relationships. I've got people that come to me that are literally rocket scientists, jet pilots, lawyers, doctors, all these people. They're awesome at their job, but they're not trained in relationships. So if you want to be great in relationships, you need those skills. So I'm going to ask you right now, just for this one, where are you? So we know today is communication, and you can take a screen copy of the, or a screen share, whatever, copy this screen, take a picture of it, and then take this test on your own. But when it comes to communication, is it a superpower, a strength, a weakness, or kryptonite? And I'm talking about compassionate communication in relationships. So where are you? Which one of those? Superpower, strength, weakness, kryptonite?
Kryptonite. Bad news.
From Superman.
I'm hearing kryptonite. Who's saying that?
My wife was off the camera here.
Oh, good for you, Connie. Yeah. And who else? So I definitely can relate to kryptonite.
I don't even know what it is. Sorry.
Okay, she wants you to explain what
I'm-
kryptonite is.
I'm movie illiterate.
Oh, okay. Kryptonite, basically Superman. I grew up in the days of Superman. Superman had one weakness, and it was kryptonite. So that was his weakness. So when I look at the different strengths, the 7 core skills, I'm going for which one is it? Each of these skills, is it your superpower, your strength, your weakness, or does it cripple you? So in my family growing up, compassionate communication, that was a kryptonite. Sarcastic, mean, cruel communication, oh, that was our superpower. We could really do that.
There's a little interesting thing I got to throw in here about why kryptonite is a really good choice to use for that. So Superman, most powerful guy, right? But what makes him totally weak is kryptonite. And what is kryptonite? Pieces of his own home planet, right? And almost always our kryptonite, as we just heard Paul use, is that childhood wounding, that, you know, that epigenetic wounding, that ancestral trauma that we carry from our home planet is usually our kryptonite. So that's why it's a great choice to use that.
And the important thing is to notice, thank you, Scott, is to notice what is our kryptonite without shame. Like, I have no shame around the fact that I don't know how to fly a jet plane or a helicopter or be a dentist or play a piano. And yet we somehow assume that we're supposed to have communication as our superpower. So is it, if it's your superpower, put your hand here. If it's your strength here, if it's your weakness here, and if it's your kryptonite, put it down here, just so we get an idea of where everybody is. Superpower, strength, weakness, kryptonite. All right. So can I bounce back? By the way, this is interactive. Eli, can I ask you, when you would put it down as kryptonite, can you say more? What happens for you? And this is critical.
Right. So in a situation where I might really need to communicate compassionately, especially with Monica, I get in this cycle of this this negative spiral, which happens that I feel incapable of doing it. I feel like I'm like really trying to think of how to do it and overthinking about it, and then it gets more pressure and more pressure, and I just kind of shut down completely, and less able to even communicate in any way, and I have to like go away and come back.
So how many can relate to what Eli just said there? Yeah, look around, Eli. There's definitely people that you're not alone. And this, what I want people to understand is this is a muscle and a skill. It's a muscle that can be developed and a skill that can be learned, because I grew up with relationship repellent. I sucked in relationships. And so it's like learning how to do this and doing the, doing push-ups almost. And you keep improving and getting better at it. And I want to, the first step is to notice where you are. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then we're going to dive into the actual tools. I was in Florida many years ago, and I was 21 years old, and we were picking up a 78-foot boat that we were taking from Florida to Alaska. And I had to grow up quickly. Anyway, I was on the beach trying to impress some young woman with my swimming skills, and rather than impress her, I got a cramp in my leg and basically washed up on the shore, sort of like seaweed. And so it was the opposite of what I was intending to do, and she kind of came by and looks at me down there, lying there with my leg in agony. And I want to ask you, when your leg cramps or when your body cramps, what do you do to get rid of the cramp? So I'd love to have somebody call out what they do. So
massage.
So do you tighten the muscle or loosen the muscle?
Loosen.
Okay.
Loosen.
And I'm going to actually ask you she told me to do the opposite, because see, what's happening is your muscle's trying to tighten. That's what a cramp is. And when you're trying to loosen, what you're trying to do is fight with your muscle. And so when you take your muscle and make it even tighter, you're leaning in the direction it's going, and you're taking over control. Once you have control, what can you do? Then you can relax it. This is the opposite of what we were thinking. So part of what I want to do today is have you, when I go through the triggers, rather than trying to be very cosmic and compassionate, I want you to dive in deeper, to take control, to whatever direction you're going. If you're being judgmental, be really judgmental. If you're being, if you're making them bad, stupid, wrong, be really, are you willing to embrace your bad, stupid, wrongness? Yes, no? Okay. Some of you are like, I don't know. This is, but see, like with the cramp, this is how you get control. You lean in and start doing this. So in communication, I'm going to give you the essence of it right here, and then we're going to look at the things that knock us out. So the essence. What do you want? I'm guessing we all want the same things. We want to be, what is it? Heard, understood, valued. How many want that? Anybody not want that? So let me just ask you, if you could type in which one of those is the toughest of these three. Is it hearing your partner, understanding your partner, or valuing your partner? Which one is the most challenging when you're having communication problems?
I think valuing.
Say more.
Wow. Well, what I experience when I don't feel heard or understood, I don't feel valued, right? Myself.
Yeah, so valued is the end product of hearing and understanding. Then we get to valuing. So what stops us often when I'm working with couples is that understood one. Because we're often afraid that if we understand, it equals agreement. So I'm going to take 1 second and shift gears just because I'm feeling Monica's discomfort. And she said she's having a migraine. So what I'm wondering, if we could just take a second, all of us, and just send as much love to Vermont right now as possible, and just, and maybe Eli, if you could put your hands on her head and just put a little bit of pressure from the sides and send all of our love there. And Monica's pregnant and going through whatever pregnant women go through, which I don't know. All I can do is, and put more pressure than you would think, Eli. And everybody just send as much love as we can. And then Eli on the front and the back, on her forehead and behind, and squeeze again. Yeah. Monica, just feel how much love is headed your direction. Oh, okay.
And water too. Headaches often need water hydration.
Yeah. And squeeze her shoulders too. And now we're going to come back and all right. So what I want to do today is there's two sides of communication. There's the things to avoid and the things to have. And so how much fun is it dealing with someone who's really triggered? Not much fun. And I'm going to go through 5 triggers that if you know what these triggers are, you can avoid them. But I also want to have us practice doing them. So case building is one of the triggers here, and I'm going to bring up that case building. Anything you say can and what will be used against you in the bedroom, the bathroom, the living room, in front of friends, in front of family, all the rest of that. And case building, how many of you are guilty of case building? I'm guilty of it myself, and with the best of intention. So let's go for a couple of examples of case building here. So who'd like to, I'll give an example, and then I'd like to hear some people. Where do you build cases about where, and just so that you know, a case building is when you start with, you make somebody bad, stupid, and wrong for their behavior. I was great with our last president. I was good at building cases against and all of the things that, what he should or shouldn't do and why it was bad, stupid, wrong. And I'm guilty as charged. And it was incredibly ineffective. And I do this also sometimes with people I love, why somebody shouldn't smoke or drink or do certain things. Like, I have all of these brilliant reasons. Now, where do you get tempted to build cases? So you can either raise your hand or you can share it in the chat. Sarah, where do you build cases?
Okay, so my problem is I'm an investigator as my profession in financial services. So I remember everything, and I've got a thing where I look for discrepancies. So when I've got my own stories going on, I look for the evidence to support my stories, and then I keep it all in my head. And then when I'm triggered or we're in it, then out it all comes, and I have no control. So I'm throwing it. You did this then, you did this then. All this supports my point of view. So I'm right, you're wrong. Suck it up. And I just want to win. I get in that. Yeah, just in. I should have been a lawyer, really, everyone says, but it's just boom, 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 boom. You can't argue with me, beat them down. And I'm a horrible person, but I'm owning it. And deep breath.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And I would be cautious about, you're a horrible person. We have, remember I said that one circle, habits, patterns, and beliefs. And so where do we go? I'm going to talk to you guys in a minute where we go when we get triggered. And this is going to be critical in here. Let me bring that up so I can show you. And Sarah, that was a great example. And by the way, I had terror run through my body. Like, I would never want to get in an argument with you. I was engaged to a woman that had a photographic memory, and it was like, we never got to the issue. It was always about like the facts. It wasn't at 2:30, it was at 2:43, and it wasn't on this street. It was like, and I'm like, I just give up. And it
Facts.
and it's like looking for where do we go? So when we get triggered, I want each of you to think about this. Where do you go? And Sarah was great at telling us where she went. There's 3 possible ways we communicate. We can collapse, and collapse is when we become the martyr. We shut down. It's like, all right, have it your way. I will make you pay for it, but you can have it your way. Now, it's interesting because I grew up in a family. My older brother used to beat me up until I collapsed. And so that was a pattern from my past. It also tends to be, for some, the feminine tends to be one of the patterns because the masculine tends to be stronger and more abusive. Now, the opposite is combative. Sometimes when we collapse enough, we say, screw it, and we bounce from being collapsed to being combative. So this is the trauma drama line. This is where a lot of communication happens. When communication is good, everybody's a great communicator. When you're happy and you're in love, everybody's a wonderful communicator. When you get triggered, where do you go? Do you collapse? Do you get combative? Or do you get up here? And then this is actually courageous. And courageous is when we talk about vulnerability and we get compassionate. So what I'd love to do is just have, hey, Scott, can you break people into rooms for a second? Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can we break into rooms for just about 3 minutes with 2 people in a room? And if you're a couple, then you'll have 3 people in a room. And
Okay.
however the rooms work out, just more than one person in a room, Scott, because I see we have couples.
I can
and
definitely do 2 people per room if that's what you want.
Yeah, that's it. And just talk for a second about where do you go when you get triggered? Do you go to collapse? Do you go to combative? Or do you go to courageous? And we'll just talk about, make sure everybody gets to talk about it for a minute or 2, and then we'll all come back.
I'm putting people together in rooms. Okay. People just need to click join room. And Paul, I put you in a room also.
Thank you.
You're with Sarah. Paul, you need to click. Yeah, there you go. Oh, man. Wait a second. Wow. You wanted me to close the rooms?
Yeah, do you think that we're done? And
I'll give people 1 minute warning.
okay, yeah. And Sarah brought up some great points that it's not one position, she's in all 3 of them at different times.
Okay, people will be back in a minute. While we're waiting, Paul, I'm going to, I've got a few things I've got to do for Saturday Night Live. Just
Sure.
so I'm actually going to make you, I've made you the co-host and I made Anna Prabha co-host, but it is important for you to keep track of where the camera is. And to keep track, because we're recording, of whether to have it on speaker view or whether to have it on gallery view. Okay. You know how to
All
do
right.
that? upper right-hand corner.
Oh, I see it. I don't know how when I can switch from speaker to gallery, no problem.
Right,
And
exactly.
full screen.
Right. So would you rather that I have you be the host or have Anna Prabha doing that?
That'd be great if Anna Prava did it.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna make her the full host then when she comes
Okay.
back.
So I'd love to hear from a few people. What did you see about yourself? Where do you go when you get triggered? Do you go to collapse, combative, courageous? Who'd like to share? All right.
Sure.
All right, and then I saw Jay and David. So okay.
Yeah, what happens with me is that makes a lot of sense to me, that the triangle. Whether you win or lose, if you don't make up, you lose. And the connection is the only way to win. In a relationship. There's no other way. And what happens with me is I become usually very combative, but then sometimes that will just result in me becoming very like collapsed, depressed. And then eventually connection. So that's my process.
Thank you. Let's blow our love or kiss. Let's do a kiss. And love to everybody that's shared any time so far today. Jay, you raised your hand. What did you see?
Well, I see it depends on who I'm with. You know, some people I'm a teacher to them. Sometimes, you know, we switch roles in different situations. So I'm you know, sometimes I'm win-win. Other times, you know, I have to win. You know, I have to put someone in their place, and I realize it depends. You know, sometimes I'm triggered by something else, and I don't get mad at someone else, and then I'm mad at the person that's in front of me, and maybe it's not even justified. So, you know, that's a hard one. You know, because sometimes you get an argument with a teleoperator or something, and you
right,
cool. And the next thing you know, I'm exploding at a partner. You know,
and put somebody in their place. It's like what happens when you start to really listen. You start to uncover somebody's ROS, their relationship operating system, their habits, patterns, and beliefs. Like that, if I put them in their place, they'll behave right. So anything else you want to say about putting somebody in their place, Jay? Because I can relate to that.
Well, I'm telling myself a story. You know, yesterday I told myself a story, and then that story created an outburst with me. You know, and it looked like I was just outbursting to someone because they interrupted me. But what happened was I heard something when I went to the bathroom, and I told myself a story about it, and then I got angry but it wasn't about her interrupting me. It was about what I thought someone had said, and maybe, you know, I should have asked a question. I said, you know, did you really? Because I could have been wrong. I made an assumption.
Right. And Jay nailed one of the second. We're going to talk about the 5 triggers. The second trigger that is storytelling. We tell ourselves a story. What upsets us rarely is the event. It's a story we make up about the event. And if we share that story, we can create connection. But normally we just operate on the story as if it's true.
I lost my audio.
Well, all right. So thank you, Jay. Who else would like to share?
One
Sarah,
sec.
would you like to?
I couldn't find anything called audio set up in Find My.
That was. Hold on. Okay. Well, wait. Deborah, I see you in a second. David, you had raised your hand too, and then.
Well, I mean, you said story, like I remember, I don't know who said it, but a long, long time ago. You're never upset for the reason that you think. Which is, you know, but yeah, I mean, it shows up all. I can't think of a specific example right now, but this whole story thing that you make up is a problem.
And we're not going to get over it. We're not going to get to the place where we don't tell stories. What we can do is we can share our stories and bust them
Right.
versus believe them and use them against each other. So
Yeah.
in partnership, our partner can either defend themselves from us. So anytime they perceive an attack, they've got to defend themselves from us, or they can lean in and be there to support us. So you got to decide, do you want them to defend themselves from us, or do you want them to lean in and support us? Which one do we want? And part of today is about effective communication. I want to get away from the idea of right, wrong. So after doing this for almost 30 years, that's the sexiest term I've come up with. Effective communication. I really want some fancy ass language or something like that. But it's like, what works, what doesn't. I notice that when I make somebody bad, stupid, and wrong, they don't want to come and hug me. When I judge them and evaluate them and attack them, they don't want to come and be with me. When I accuse them of stuff, they don't want to come hug me or lean in. So what we want to do is talk today about what's effective and what's ineffective. So Deborah, and then I volunteered Sarah a second ago too, because I was in a group with her and she shared some really wise stuff. So Deborah, do you want to share what you were going to say? You're
Okay.
muted.
Oh, can you now?
Yep.
Yeah, because actually everybody, the whole thing froze for about a minute. So I heard you say the fun thing, which I could relate to, that you're looking for some sexy, fun way to describe communication, but so far it's effective communication. Anyway, I in that whole thing, about which way do we go? I would say if I'm really triggered and I'm telling myself a story and I'm not being, using all my compassionate communication skills the right way, I can fall into combative. And then because of all this training, as fast as possible, I will suddenly go, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm sorry. Okay. And then I'll go towards courageous win-win. How could we create win-win? I mostly only do that combative with my housemate partner. In other situations, I will just bite my tongue, hold, and really go into how could I create win-win here. So I love what you said about, we can share the story of what's triggering us, what we're telling ourselves, and bust it.
Yeah, thank you. Let's blow Deborah a kiss.
Thank you.
And
you.
for David and for everybody so far, Lonnie. Let's see. Sir, did you want to share? I volunteered you, which was, I didn't really ask.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. So what I shared was similar to Jay in that it depends on the environment. So when I'm just generally in relationship, I feel like I can be quite combative. But when I'm with my son, I feel I'm a lot more resourced. I've got a lot more tools available and I feel a lot more grounded. So when there's disagreements there, I can normally keep quite level and reach the win-win position. But then on the flip side, there are certain people that I know if they get triggered, they could be quite volatile, violent, aggressive. So towards them and in that environment, I would be more collapse, or I wouldn't want to antagonize them. So really, it does depend on the situation for me.
Yeah, and that's a critical thing. So I'm trying to draw out the map. I'm going to give a little bit more of the map, and then we're going to dive into actually practicing this. How many of you speak more than one language? Any of you? All right. How many speak more than two languages? Anybody? Ah, wow. Connie, what do you speak?
Well, sort of Dutch, French, and of course English.
All right. Yeah, I speak a little bit of English. No, but every time I would work in a different country or travel to a different country, Lei capisce l'italiano. Da, очень хорошо, мой друг. Ne homa. So a little tiny bit of Russian, Chinese, Japanese. So I want to enter their world. So what I want to do is dive into a different language, the language of love. And the language of love is the language of feelings, needs, and requests. And it's based a lot on the what Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of nonviolent communication. I can think of my life before Marshall and after Marshall. What a big change. And so what I want to do, though, is give you the three languages we all speak. But the problem is we think we're speaking the same language. So the words are the same, but the meanings are different and the way we use them is different. Does this make sense? So I'll bring up the screen and you can see the three languages we speak as human beings. We speak the language of the head, the language of the heart, and the language of the hurt. And they're very different in what the outcome is. So we're either speaking from or listening from. So if we're listening from the head or speaking from the head, we're speaking, it's the reasoning part. We're speaking about facts, figures, who did what is the most important thing. And Sarah, you brought this up, like as an investigator, facts are, all of the facts.
Hey,
I don't.
do you remember Sergeant Friday?
Yes.
Just the facts, man. Just the facts.
Just give me the facts. I don't care how you feel. Where is that communication? That tends to be a more masculine communication from the, we all have a masculine, feminine side. So I'm not saying men or women, but when I'm in my masculine side and look at my slides, look at the way I do things. It's like I am a strong communicator from the where? From the head. Now, is the head important? Absolutely. It's really critical to getting shit done. Now, but the problem is when you're in your head, knowledge is key. And what is vulnerability? Weakness. Now, when you're in your heart, it's all about relating and we communicate connections, feelings, forget the facts. How do you feel? Vulnerability is the key. And we can shift gears here. The problem is if someone's speaking from their heart and you're listening from the head, what are you listening for? You're listening for facts, figures, what problem can I solve? What can we do? And they're talking from their feelings. So the feeling part tends to be more what? Feminine. Is this making sense? This is yes, this is no, this is I'm good. Okay. And then the last one is communicating from the hurt. And so when we're communicating from our hurt, it's all about, it's like the brain. So put your hand here. This is from the head. So put your hand here. So Jay will, yeah, there we go. Okay. Now from the heart. And now from the hurt. So it's important to know which one you're in and which one your partner's in. Because if they're in their hurt and you start talking from your head, is it going to work? Is it going to be effective?
Yeah.
If you're speaking from your heart and your partner's speaking from your head, is that going to be effective?
No.
So what do you need to be doing? You need to sort of match up head to head, heart to heart. Now, you don't want to go hurt to hurt. But so I'd like to do a quick role play with somebody about how to get you out of the dinosaur mind. Would that be a good thing? If you learn nothing else today, but this single thing, would it be a good thing to learn?
Yes.
Okay, so who would like to do a role play with me? Lonnie, would you volunteer? You can do yes and okay. So unmute yourself for a second. And is it Lonnie or Lanny?
Lanny.
Lanny.
Lanny, yeah, it's a hard one.
All right. So Lanny, can you get a little bit triggered about something for a second? About anything, that might be a little bit upsetting that would normally put you in your dinosaur mind.
Yes.
Okay. Can you give me, is it something you can share, just in general? We don't need all the
Yes,
details.
sure. My my partner, my light touch partner, and we live together. I am in my love of my life. Likes women a lot, and has lots of women friends, and I find like photos and things, and there's this woman, and I just kind of
Okay, I got enough right there. Good. Got it. I got it.
Yeah, that makes me upset.
Okay. So I'm going to communicate first. Remember what I said about the muscle, tighten the muscle first. So I'm going to communicate in a way that's normal, that doesn't, well, you can see whether it works. All right. So Lanny, I see that I'm going to be your light touch partner, whatever, the person that triggers you, and communicate from where, just when you get where I'm communicating from, just put your hand there. So if I'm communicating from here, here, or here. Lanny, you shouldn't feel the way you feel right now. You shouldn't be jealous. If you think the way I think, I just like people and I like women. And so it's really, it's illogical for you to feel that way. So Lanny, are we getting any closer here? Is there the connection?
I would say you don't understand at all, and you're not me. So I understand like how he's hurt me in the past, and I've been hurt, and I'm in like a lot of fear, and from the mind, from facts, things that happen, that it could happen again.
So I just asking everybody else, was that effective? And I could have gone on for hours with all the facts and figures and built a strong case on why she shouldn't have feel the way she feels. And would that have done any good? Now, the next one I'm going to do is, well, tell me how you feel about this.
Well, how I feel about the situation that I've already
actually wait, stop. Let me
how what my emotions are, like it really from my soul, like my heart, that kind of, is that what you want?
I'm going to ask you something different. This is the key thing, and I want people to get this, and this is the magic line. Like, I'm serious about this, and this is really important for everybody to kind of get this, is when you're dealing with someone who's triggered, this will transform things. So Lanny,
yes,
can you tell me, what would it take for you to feel safe right now?
For me to be able to talk to him about 2 major issues, and for him to give me an answer and communicate with me to the level where I have an answer, because I just feel so confused. And if I'm giving away my best years of my life, I already have given a decade, to this, not giving away. I love him. I'm in love with him.
So
it's extremely painful, and I need to know the answers to these 2 questions.
Yeah.
Especially really just one thing.
So where did she go? So when she was triggered, she was in where? Reptile brain, right?
Yeah.
And when I asked her, what do you need to feel safe right now? Where did she go? Into her heart. Now, it was in her heart, she was still feeling the pain and the fear, but she wasn't as much in reaction. There was a connection. When you're in your reptile brain, it's like all you're looking for is, where's the enemy? Where's the ally? Is this making sense? So what I want you to do, and Lanny, how was that for you?
Oh, I really it was very, I think the exercise was great. You did a great job. It was exactly, it proved the point. And it was, everything I was saying was completely true.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it's great to be in the heart, and that's when you connect, and that's what like love is I think the sharing the heart. The minds can be totally different, and I think different ways, but the heart they have to have love between them.
And Anna Pravi, do you have the breakout thing? Can you?
I do. It might take me, you keep talking.
I'll keep talking.
Minute. Pressure.
No, I'll set up the exercise for
okay.
a second.
What would you like? 2 again? 2 and 2?
Yeah.
Together? Okay.
And what I want people to do is I want people to interact with each other, talk about an emotional thing, but practice coming from your head, then from your heart, and then from your hurt. So who'd like to do a quick practice with me so that we show everybody how to do this from the Jay? All right. So Jay, let's have a conversation about something that was an upset. You're muted. Okay, there you go. And let's go from head to head and then head to heart and head to hurt. All right, so you talk about something that was upsetting you, and I'll start with my head.
Okay, well, without specifics, I've made a request a number of times, and then I made an assumption that.
Well, wait a second. If you made a request a bunch of times, you're probably not that effective at making requests, and you ought to improve the way you do requests. So, Jay, it's okay. You can tell me to go fuck off right now, or some other more politically correct words that we use there. All right. So, was that connecting at all?
No.
Oh, so okay. So, Jay, go back to
that. You invalidated that I had a feeling about something. You made me wrong for it, kind of.
Yeah, BSW, building a case against. So now, Jay, do that again, if you would.
I so much want to be understood because I feel that I have a request and it's really important to me. And
wow. So Jay, I'm wondering if remember, the language of love is the language of feelings, needs, and requests. So what is Jay feeling right now? So let's have some other people jump in. I could do this, but what is Jay feeling right now? And what is Jay needing? So who'd like to say that? Eli, you're looking very you're muted.
No, I just missed whatever he said. I wasn't.
Oh, okay, no problem.
I would guess that Jay's feeling frustrated and maybe agitated because his need to be understood is not being met.
How did that resonate, Jay?
Well, it made my heart tingle.
See, and it's interesting, even though we're doing this in what we would officially call a role play, it doesn't matter when somebody gets met like that, it touches their heart. And I could even feel it in mine when Jay got met there. So Jay, I'm just going to go, and thank you, Scott, for
I'm
that.
almost ready to cry.
Yeah.
So, for what that's worth.
I love you, Jay.
And that was such a simple thing. I mean, how long did it take Scott? Well, it took Scott about, I don't know, 25, 30 years to be able to do that in a heartbeat, So Jay, can you say that one more time?
What?
The upset.
Well, that something is important to me, and I wanted to get the response that I was looking for, and that I think is obviously the best thing, for everyone. and I'm making the assumption that it's not happening just because I hadn't seen it, but that doesn't mean that it still wasn't going to happen.
So Jay, what would it take for you to feel safe to communicate this and to lean in?
Maybe if I had more hugs as a kid. That's a joke. So not.
What would it take for you to feel safe now?
Well, I just want to say sometimes that finances are involved in these things too, so that comes up with this extra thing of. Well, I feel more understood just from what Scott said, and trust, I guess.
Yeah. And I would want to know what specifically would show him trust. And when he said finances, like, this is an issue that almost every couple goes through and very few couples talk about. Finances is one of the core issues that creates so many upsets. Excuse me. So, Anaprava, do you have us ready for break rooms? Don't break us yet, but
Goddess willing.
God is willing.
God is willing.
I love that. This is going to be my new technical thing. God is willing and the internet. So what I want to do is I want to have you break into couples or pairs here, and then practice communicating from the 3 different levels. And let me bring them back up so that we're clear on them. Communicate an issue from your head, from your heart, and from your hurt. And that's person A. Start from the head, the heart, and then go to the hurt. And person B, listen from your head, your heart, and your hurt. Try to see if you can practice being in those 3 different places. We'll just give this about 3 minutes, and you can put me in a break room too, Anaprava, or depends. If you've already got it broken out without, it doesn't matter. So a minute and a half each.
Okay.
So go for that.
A reminder that people need to click join rooms. It looks like little Laura C just joined us.
Yeah, I've been here for a little while, but I don't see a room for me.
Anaprava, you're muted, honey. Well, maybe Anaprava, I can do the.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. Yeah, I sent something because I didn't get a room. I didn't know how to put myself back into. Jay is here.
Right.
And
Well, you know what we can do is just. Oh, okay. Jay clicked his room.
So. Here.
Okay, Jay clicked his room.
Laura right here. You don't have to put us in room. We'll just work with Laura right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, Laura with the cute photo.
Hi, I have my partner here from Japan. He came and surprised me. We're just not up yet, so I'm just talking. Yeah, and he's listening.
Hey, Scott. Sorry, 1 second. Could I was trying to get back into the room with David and Connie, but I don't know, for some reason I didn't get there.
Right. So as the host, what you do is you don't assign yourself to a room, but
Okay.
pick the room they're in, and there's an option for you to join that room.
Okay.
In other words, if you go to their room, I'd have to see it visually, but
It's room 1. Yeah, it's room 1. Oh, I got it. Okay, there I go. I think I can do it. Oh yeah, got it. Thanks.
okay, and I'll stay and I'll talk to Laura. Hi, Laura. So it's just you and me talking. The 2 people who are only with photo. I'll go ahead and start my camera so you can really see me. Hey, I know you're teaching a class for us soon, and I'm excited about that. But I also know that you've mentioned that you feel shy about being on camera. And of course, when you're teaching,
Oh, I'll be on camera when I'm teaching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's performance mode. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind when I'm teaching. I'm ready to be a performer then.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
You've met my need for reassurance.
Yes, I will definitely be on camera for the whole time.
Well, it's funny you got a friend visiting from that far away.
Yeah, Yusuke and I have been together for maybe like 4 years or more. And we need to get the fiance visa and all, but we haven't seen each other for a year. So yeah, it's really wonderful to be together. Because I'm all alone all the time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are there thoughts or questions you want to share in reference to the class?
Practice this this breakout room thing. So let me see. I'm gonna be hurt from the hurt. I feel like it's a little hard to come up with examples. I do hope you can meet. Wait, Yusuke, you want to say hi? No, he's too shy. Okay, so let's say, well, I'll use an example he has. Oh, you yelled at me. You know, I don't like the way you're talking. I feel upset.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hurt one.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And maybe you could do it instead so we can hear examples.
Okay, and you know when I was multitasking, so what's the assignment?
The head, the heart, and the hurt. Different examples of responses.
Responses or opening statements? Responses.
Opening statements, whatever.
Opening statements. You never have enough time for me. That's from the head. From the heart, I'm really missing you and wishing we could spend more time together. And what's the third one?
The hurt.
Oh, well, I guess I got it. I'm noticing I'm feeling really, really hurt because I've got a story that you don't want to spend time with me.
Well, the hurt is basically reptile brain.
Oh, so that's the reactive.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here comes Paul and Sarah. I'm saved by the Paul.
Paul.
And Paul, just, I've made Anaprabha the host because I'm actually going to I need to completely take out. I've got a few little, nothing terrible, but I've got just too much I got to do for Saturday Night Live right now. So you're doing a great job with the show, though, or great job with the class. You are muted, though, and it's hard to hear the teacher when he's muted.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Scott. Yeah. All right. And Anaprabha, I set my timer for 3 minutes, but I didn't. She must not have set her timer for 3 minutes. So
That's okay. We'll roll with it.
yeah. And Laura, what did you get from this? And the three of us can do something right now.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I was looking for a couple more examples of responses from the hurt. Scott gave some head and heart responses, which were useful. I think it's hard for me to come up with examples, actually.
Well, the hurt is when we go into reactive. It's like if you feel like you need to defend yourself from somebody, you've now moved in the simplest way on the hurt. And I'd love to have you bring it up in the main group, but it's like when we're in the world of enemy versus ally, that's when we're in our hurt. And it's like, here's a simple example. You come home from work and you're pissed off because you got a flat tire, your boss said some asinine thing, da 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 da, and you come home and you're triggered, and you go to your partner and try to explain to your partner the pain of the day, like, God, my boss is being a jerk. And your partner goes, well, maybe your boss has a point of view. Maybe your boss may be right. It's like all of a sudden your partner goes from being your ally to being your what?
Enemy.
Enemy. That's when you're in your reptile brain. In the reptile brain, we basically have two groups: enemy, ally, safe, dangerous, black, white. It's very reduced.
Mm.
So that's the whole world of the reptiles. Is that making more sense, Laura?
Yeah, that's great. And so what kind of response do I need in that moment, really?
Well, if you understand the function of the reptile brain is for survival. It's a very critical part of our way. It's not like a bad thing. It's just if you're using it at the wrong time, it can be very isolating. So what happens is, if you and I are in an upset and I'm triggered, I can go, okay, wait, Laura, oh, I'm triggered right now. I'm starting to see you like the enemy.
Mm.
Can we slow down? Can we go back to connecting? Can we remember that we love or care about each other? Can we remember that and come from that place?
Mm.
And if we can't right now, I may need to go for a walk. I may need to do something else.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is get the reptile brain is like down in the basement, and in the basement I don't have access to all these other wonderful resources that are in up here or here. All I have is fight, flight, freeze, very limited.
Mm.
And so what I want to do is move back into a place where it feels safe enough to be in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a burning building, you're not worried about how you feel right now. You're just worried about get out alive.
Mm.
So let me just
Yeah.
see if I can get Anna Prava. I don't know how to get her back in here and connect with her so that we
Are
can.
you a host too, Paul?
I am a co-host.
So if you go to, are you on your computer?
Yep.
Okay, so bottom right, there should be something like, maybe it's in the more button or something. It'll say breakout rooms. And
All right.
then,
All it's saying here is join breakout room. And so maybe I didn't
because
get
there's a
made
way for you to
co-host.
close the breakout rooms. Oh, you think you didn't, you're
Maybe
not
I
a
didn't because I'm not getting. So Sarah, what did you get? Let's just spend another second on this. And Laura, thank you so much. Does that make sense, Laura, before we bounce off?
Yeah, that's wonderful, Paul. It's very helpful. I'm not claiming to be a master now, but I think that it's very helpful.
No, it's important to recognize, okay, here we're getting some people joining back in. And you brought up some critical stuff here. So what did people get from that exercise? And Laura, do you want to start with what you just got? Because you really opened up a great Pandora's box there.
Okay, should I ask my question or rephrase what you were saying?
Either way, you can start with asking your question so people understand it.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for more examples of responding from the hurt. I find it a little hard to come up with the examples. Um, and yeah, that's my first question. And I think it probably often happens, that once one person responds from the hurt, the other one responds from the hurt, and then we're just in a catastrophe, right?
Yes, it's a spiral down to relationship hell when we go trigger to trigger.
Yeah.
And the interesting example, so you brought that up. Let's see, we've got some other people that are still out. I don't know where. Come on back, people. The key thing that you brought up in this, Laura, is that if we're in the hurt, we have limited options or limited ways of seeing things. And this is what I said earlier. It's either enemy or ally. It's either safe or it's dangerous. And see, Jay, when you did your example earlier, this also brought up like, oh, they suddenly look like the enemy, and I need to square them away. And I actually even do this when I get on a call with, say, someone who I need to, get my phone fixed or get something changed. I ask them, are you someone who can create a miracle for me? Because I'm trying to get them as my ally. I don't want it to be where I'm on a call with the enemy. I'm on a call with the ally. And sometimes they say, no, I can't create a miracle. And I say, okay, can you get me someone who can? Because I'm trying to shift the energy from enemy to ally. And anytime that I feel like I need to defend myself from somebody, they are no longer my ally. They're the enemy. And sometimes it's little and sometimes it's big. But if I feel like I have to protect myself, I have moved into my hurt, and I've moved into the, the enemy ally thinking. So I wonder where Anna Prava, join us. Jay, go ahead.
I'm wondering, since, I mean, to speak about a personal issue, not anything directly, but sometimes there's a misunderstanding. And I notice, like, all communication, even with love coaches, no one's inquiring, no one's curious. This is something in the past, a while back. And there's all this disruption, and I find that even months later it's still going on. And so I need communication. That's the way that I clear things. And then some other people, they don't want to communicate. So that's something I struggle with. I just wanted to share that because, you're here.
Yeah, and if I don't think that I have the skills to deal with the situation, I'm not going to lean back in and try to communicate more. So if you think about it, the only reason we ever do anything is to meet a precious need. And so if I don't think I can get that need met, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to lean in and communicate. So I just want to hear from a few people. What did you get now that we're all back, or I think we're all back? What did you get from your exercise? What did you learn about yourself or other people?
David and Connie, would you like to share? Would you
Just
mind
got
sharing a little
unmute
bit?
here. Okay.
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, Anna Prabha was on the job, and we did an exercise between the two of us. So, yeah, so we did what we do normally, which is communicate from the head and accuse each other and get stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
And then drop down into the heart as to how that feels. And I'm just letting it sink in. Thanks.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. If I could just really appreciate they've been married 40 years. So the vulnerability and their willingness to go there was very palpable. And it was also around like creating that safe container, right? Creating a safe container where it's safe to drop into the heart in the relationship. I think that's also an aspect that's really important to bring in when you start to drop into your heart with your partner. Like, okay, we're going to breathe into this. We're going to slow it down. And we're going to like create this safety for each other to be in the heart, right?
And Connie, I noticed even when you said that, you started talking from your head about talking from your head, and then I watched you slow down and talk from your heart. It's like I could almost see it go from here to here as you did that,
Yeah.
and it's such a precious skill and muscle, and it is an act of courage. So who else would like to share what you got? Jay.
Well, what was interesting for me is I I couldn't share from my heart. I mean, from my head. I could feel my hurt and I could feel my heart, and then I couldn't find the head. So I was like either angry or I was, the others. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Who else? Any other? Lanny. Oops, wait, you're muted.
For a good reason, we're doing construction out there. Anyways, what I've noticed is that it's pretty much just go for the heart, find the heart, and that's gonna have like something will work. And that's what I've noticed. The hurt and the heart being similar, like in our case, Jay, I was his partner in the exercise, or the head, excuse me, and the hurt. So it just seems like the heart is the way to connection, and that's the way to communication. It seems to be the way to everything, really, to me. The brain is important. It's necessary for survival and to be alive. But when you open up the heart, you feel life on a different level. And it's just, the heart actually controls the brain. It pumps. And a lot of people think that our brain controls the heart, but that's not true. And that's a medical fact. So anyways, that's what I've learned is like the heart is really just, it's about being compassionate, listening, understanding, or trying your hardest to understand, or pretend that you understand at least. And that will go towards the positive. And every exercise that we've done today. And I'm not an expert at this, but that's my opinion.
Well, one of the masterful things that this does is remember I said earlier, how many languages do you speak? And part of speaking a language is translation. So what we're trying to do is translate into feelings and needs, translate somebody's behavior, translate somebody's comments, someone's actions. Is what are they feeling? What are they needing? And the two most connecting translations are everything that somebody does is either an act of love or a cry for help. The problem is the way that we cry for help can get us in deep trouble, or it can bring us closer to each other. So it really depends on how you cry for help. And Monica, can I use you for an example right now? It's like Monica could go, Eli, you cold and callous bastard, come rub me because I have a headache. Or it's like, oh my God, I feel so vulnerable, and it would be such a gift for you to hold me right now and massage my head. Now, it's tempting, especially if Eli is unconscious of her headache, because it's in her head. It could be really things like, doesn't he love me? Can't he read my mind? Can't he tell I'm in agony right now with my migraine? And it's like, so it'd be easy for it to not come as come as an attack. But if Eli can just translate it into what would it be? An act of love or cry for help. So Monica would be crying for help. Does that make sense, everybody? So Monica, do you guys want to say what the exercise was like for you?
Yeah, sure. So before are you okay, Paul? It's not the coronavirus, right? It's so before we got back on here, Eli was actually sharing about some kind of tools that he was learning from what we were going through with Deborah. So Deborah was our partner, And what we explored was how sometimes, and it's funny you use the massage as an example because that's exactly what I brought up. And I got mad at Eli while we were having this group session because I asked him to massage my neck and he wasn't doing it deep enough. And I felt like he was just not trying and I got mad at him. And then Deborah was able to relate because we're both massage therapists. So that when you're a massage therapist, you kind of have a certain quality like that you give and you kind of like really want to get back with, when you, so I sometimes speak from my hurt about that, like where like, you just don't want to do it. You just don't want to massage me. So just don't bother. Like,
You don't love me. If you love me, you'd know how to massage me.
you don't care that I'm in pain. So just don't touch me. I get really dramatic, so.
So got it. We can relate to that. So Eli, what would help set you up to win? Are you a trained massage therapist? Just out of curiosity.
No.
No, you can't.
But no, I do know I can get into this mode where like I walk into the kitchen and like I just know that I need to be compassionate no matter what happens, and so that puts me into the mode of like where usually like Monica can sometimes be like the image of the dinosaur like the one that we had in your diagram, but that's when I'm in the compassionate mode is like kind of like turns into like an angry puppy and but I love her and she's mine and she needs help.
I love this. I'm going to go from the dinosaur to the angry puppy. Yeah, that's. And see that. Well, let me ask, Eli, does that help you lean
Definitely
in?
does. It does, yeah.
And that's the critical thing that we all need to be able to do is lean in when our partner is hurting. So thank you. So Laura, did you want to bring up what you brought up? So, because we didn't get this from everybody yet, or we didn't share it with everybody yet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was talking about how sometimes it's hard to come up with examples of the hurt, and so asking about that and how to recognize it and how to cope with it and that kind of stuff.
So what I want to do is just 2 seconds on the hurt. I've gone through this a bunch, but it's hard to go over it too many times. The hurt is when we move into the place where our brain can only make 2 distinctions: enemy, ally, danger, safe, black, white. It's like, yes, its ability to see the rainbow, to see other people's point of views, all that is gone. All that we know is either that's my enemy or that's my ally. And if I think I have to defend myself from you, you have moved into the enemy camp. And it's really important to let your partner know, or whoever you're talking to, know that that's where you've gone. So I'm going to go through the five triggers, and I'm going to go through them somewhat quick, and then we'll figure out which one, as I talk about these, which one triggers you the most and which one you use the most. Does that make sense? So which one triggers you the most, where you get most upset when somebody else does it, and which one do you do the most? So here we go. We're going to go rapid fire here. Number one, I'm bringing it up here. We've already talked a little bit about it, but it's case building. Anything you say can and will be used against you, and Sarah was great at talking about this. This is where you're gathering evidence to prove that your partner is bad, stupid, wrong, that you are right, they are wrong. The next one is storytelling. And Jay talked a little bit about storytelling, and I'm making up a story. Whenever I get upset, I have a story running in my brain when somebody wants to do this with somebody else, and I can tell stories and get myself very jealous or upset or angry or hurt. So what happens though, if I want to reconnect with somebody, is I go from story telling to story busting. I reveal my story to whoever I'm talking to. The third one here is message assuming. And message assuming, and we all do this. It's like we think that we know what they're going to say. So midway through, we stop listening to them. I had a friend, we were going kayaking. He said, I'm going to meet you at something bridge. I didn't hear the right bridge. And I assumed that he meant the Dairy Queen Bridge, and he meant Mary's Lake Bridge, which I was sitting around for an hour waiting for him when he finally drove up, and he was all pissed off because he said he was waiting at the other bridge. Message assuming. And message assuming, this is another critical part, just so that you know. Here we go. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. The feminine can talk this much. The masculine can listen this much. So if you're talking to someone who's in their masculine, what do you need to do? You need to talk in little chunks and then check in with them. Can you tell me what you heard me say? This is like, excuse me, if I was to give you directions from California to New York City all at once, what would happen to your brain? It would melt somewhere along the California border before you got anywhere near New York City. So the more emotional it is, the more you need to speak in little chunks. What Marshall Rosenberg said is 40 words max, and sometimes it's a sentence at a time. And then going, honey, can you tell me what you heard me say? Oh, I thought I was saying I love you. You heard that you suck. Number 4, cup stuffing. Anybody have any idea what cup stuffing might be? Anybody?
Piling on more. I do that because I'm sort of information head.
Yeah.
I have an engineering degree, and
Yeah.
I should. I mean, you think I might have learned after all these years, but
well, that's exactly it. And what our cup has a certain amount of capacity. Like I said, right here, if this is all the room I have, cup stuffing is trying to force something into an already full cup. So one of my clients is a jumbo jet pilot. And if he's landing a jet and his partner calls him up, which he obviously wouldn't pick up the phone, but this is just for metaphor, and says, honey, we need to talk about the finances or the kids or whatever it is. What are the chances that they're going to have a successful conversation?
not.
So it's set it up in advance and go, is your cup full right now? Or is it empty? Is there room to hear me? So cup stuffing is when we're trying to force something into somebody's cup that's already full. Number 5 is the fatal F's. And I also call this maleitis. And maleitis is when we try to fix somebody. So let's see. Is there someone here who would like to do a quick example of that with me? Someone of the feminine gender for a second.
I can do it.
Okay, who's that?
It's Laura.
Oh, okay, Laura. So tell me an issue that is causing you any upset at all. It can even be a made up one. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, so my house is messy.
All right. So maleitis is when somebody comes to us, the masculine mind works this way, just so that you understand. And it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, the masculine mind, when somebody comes to us in pain, we think it's either our fault or our responsibility. And the longer that our partner is in pain, the more we did wrong and the more uncomfortable we are. So if I can't be with her pain, then I'm going to try to fix her. So here are some great fixes. Why are you telling me about it and wasting my time when you could be using that time to be cleaning the house? So that was a real bonding experience between us. So we go, the fatal F's are fix, fight, flee. Now I gave her a fix, or another fix might be, well, we could try to clean it together. You know, that would be a more compassionate fix. The next one is we could fight about it and go like, you always blame me that the house is a mess and you never take responsibility. Or the flee can be, I'm out of here. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I am done.
Yeah.
And the flee can be physically leaving or just shutting down emotionally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So back to the 5 things, and I want to hear from you guys, which one is the one that you triggers you the most and which one do you do the most? Case building, storytelling, whoops. Sorry, I thought I had shared it. Case building, storytelling, message assuming, cup stuffing, and the fatal F's. So who'd like to share which one triggers you the most and which one do you do the most? Hi, Jan. All right, who do we volunteer here?
I can go if you want.
Yep.
Okay. So what triggers me the most would probably be like just a case.
Case building, yeah.
Case, pictures, facts, simple things. And it can be very simple too. So, and what I actually do in my brain is storytelling.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And it's a real challenge.
At the same time, it's happened before, so it has happened to me. It's a reality. It's like something that's happened. Mm-hmm. So is it storytelling and case building? Both combined, maybe a little bit of both. But yeah, maybe it's storytelling, of course, right now. It's a long time. Yeah. So.
And they do blend over. You know, case building, storytelling melt together.
Yeah.
So thank you. Who else? What triggers you the most and what do you do the most?
Well, I relate to pretty well all of them. And so I'll have to observe actually which one I do in fact the most, but case building and the fatal F's probably, because I'm very clever and being in my head is definitely where I identify. So therefore I've got to fix rather than be with. And case building, well, that's easy.
But what triggers you?
Oh, and what triggers me? Well, when it's used against me, of course. That's
when I'm doing it, it's great. When I'm using against me, it sucks.
Or an assumed story. I can tell there's an assumed story, and it's driving me nuts, right?
Yeah, thank you, Connie. Who else? Ana Prava.
Well, it seems like case building is really popular here. Because that really triggers me too with case building. And like, especially case building that can go back to like 1950, 9 or something, So where that can kind of put me, that sort of case building can put me in such a shock and paralysis that my mind just can't even function, can't even work. I just want to collapse, in that kind of realm. And, but where I will go then would be the kind of the fix, flight, or flee. All right. That's where I'll go to my strategy to survive that kind of case.
Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you everybody for the vulnerability. One last one before we bounce to
Eli wanted to say something.
Eli wanted to say something. What did Monica, what did Eli want to say?
I'll let him say it this time.
Oh,
Yeah, the one I get most triggered by is the storytelling.
Because I share my stories out loud.
No, yeah, very triggered by those. And then the fatal F's is what I do.
Yeah, that's what I get triggered by. He does the fatal, like he just tried to flee before, where I had to chase him out and naked in the snow, like I'm like begging him not to leave while I'm like butt naked in the snow, hoping our neighbors don't hear this and call the police. And yeah.
So
man, he's got his hands full there.
this is wow. I just want to bounce back to one quick thing, and thank you guys so much. This is a critical thing that you just brought up, and we're not going to go through it much today. I'm just even going to bring it up, but there's something called the when it comes to patterns, there's this thing called the attachment theory. And it's one of the ways that we deal with being triggered. And why it's critical to understand this is Monica and Eli have just perfectly reflected it back. So when there's two basic concepts here, or I'm simplifying this whole work of Dr. Sue Johnson and a bunch of other people, but the simple way of looking at it is when I get triggered, I either retreat, remember the collapse thing? I need to go to my cave so that I can deal with my nervous system. Because if I perceive there's an external attack, I can't connect to my feelings and needs. So in this case, Eli might be running for his cave. And once he gets in his cave, then he can have his feelings and be safe enough to connect to Monica again. Monica has the pursuant. So the pursuant, and these are overgeneralizations, and thank you for that example. I'm just talking about that example, but the pursuant, until the relationship feels safe, the pursuant can't go into their own nervous system and calm themselves down, because the person leaving triggers all my abandonment issues. So it's like the house is burning down, and once I feel a connection with us again, then I can calm my nervous system down. This is called the cycle from hell for the people, because Eli's trying to do what he thinks is best for the relationship, which is to retreat, regroup, and then I can come back in like a healthy whole way. And for Monica's system, it's like him retreating means it's the end of the relationship. I'm so desperate, I will run nude out into the snow so my honey doesn't leave me. So everybody take a deep breath in. I want you just, wow, this is so critical to have these communication skills and understand the ROS, the relationship operating system, that it's not personal. Eli's not trying to trigger Monica. Monica's not trying to trigger Eli. These are habits, patterns, and beliefs that get in the way. And unless you work on them and know them, and so it's hard to deal with them. So one of the things that can happen here is, as if they can catch it before it's down in reptile, if they can catch it, Eli can go, honey, I need 45 minutes to calm my nervous system down. I'll come back. I'm not leaving you. I'm not abandoning you. I'm recharging so I can be present with you. Like for me, that's an hour-long mountain bike ride. I go take my mountain bike ride. I come back. I'm a new human being. I can be with you. You try to get me right now, my cup is so empty or so full, however you want to do the metaphor, I can't hear you. Is this making sense? So we're trying to set yourself up to win and set your partner up to win. So Eli, Monica, this is a great way to kind of, we're wrapping up the day, but tell me, what did you get from what I just said? And then as they're talking, what I want to do is hear a little bit from each of you, even if you could just type in, what did you get from today? So Monica, Eli, what did you get from that?
Right. So communicating these things is very important, and I definitely feel more sane and more understood, and that it right. It is important for me to take that time to kind of come back and though the urgency of understanding Monica's perspective as well at the same time.
What I got from it was that before Eli takes off, that he should like say to me that I'm going to come back and I'm going to be gone for like 45 minutes or an hour, because I'm fine with that, because odds are I want the space too. I just don't want the space indefinitely is all. Because especially with the pregnancy now, like I actually like a lot of space, to be honest, because I'm processing so much. And so, and sometimes I feel like just, I don't know, like unattractive, even though he tells me I'm pretty all the time. Sometimes I just want to be alone and feel like a troll by myself and not like constantly have his beautiful, loving gaze set upon me. So I don't mind the space, but I just need to know and have it communicated like, okay, it looks like we need space right now. So I'm going to go and, go for a drive or, hike or whatever, or go read for a while. And if it's said like that, I definitely can receive it more gracefully and be like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. So let's blow them both a big kiss. Thank you, Eli, Monica. So, and I don't know where you are on everybody else's screen. You're up there for me, but okay. So what did you get from today? Anybody else? Connie,
And I go
and
to
then Deborah.
the tail end of this one with Monica and Eli. We have the same pattern basically, and it's interesting that I can now see it as an abandonment, because I also feel that I like being on my own, and so rationally there's like it's not a rational thing that I would feel abandoned. So but then he jams me in even more, because he says, oh well, this is hopeless, I'm out of here, and then the reptile thing keeps, like, he just really jams it down about why this is never going to work, and after 40 flipping years, right? Like, I kind of know he typically does come back. So this is all, but still, I think it would be nicer if we could be a little bit more upfront about, I just need the space, blah, blah.
So Connie, I just want to just check in with you, because the way that you communicated that from a lot of pain, would that cause David to lean in or lean out?
It depends.
So,
well, if he's already triggered, that's not going to work.
I would.
Yeah, but even if he wasn't triggered, see, I just want you to get, like, if we make somebody bad, stupid, and wrong, and then go, I want you to lean in and help me. You cold and distant bastard, you come give me a hug. I can't, you know.
Of course, there was, yeah. I felt, I'll just tell you my reaction. I felt like leaning out.
Yeah, I could watch your whole body language. Even
I got a really nice door here with the deck and the waterfall and the pond and all that. So
Okay.
And so what I heard, Connie, is a cry for help. And I heard the cry for help in a way that almost guarantees he's going to hear an attack.
Okay.
And so the challenge is how to be voluntarily vulnerable. It's the same for you. It's the same for Monica. It's the same for basically all of us. Do we, when we are in pain and get our triggers tripped, do we end up connecting or being voluntarily vulnerable and going, hi, honey, I'm scared right now and I really need a hug. I'm worried. I got my abandonment story running right now. And it would be so reassuring to me to hear that you love me. And it's like, if you look at it, this is how strong this pattern is, because you go, holy shit, they've been married 40 years and it's still running. 40 years and the abandonment issue can still get triggered. Like, that's how powerful these instincts are. And that makes sense, Connie, you know. And by the way, look at where he is now. He's totally leaned in. He's like, so thank you for bringing up.
Get on the screen, Monica. Who's the little guy or
the little guy? Yeah. So let's, yeah.
That's Willow. She's my little girl. Yeah.
Willow. Hey, Willow.
Hi, Willow.
He's getting shy now. So
Hi, Willow. All right. Thank you, Connie. Anybody else? What did you get? What are you getting from today? Like, if you took this and mastered this, how different would your relationships be?
Yeah, I'll share. So I learned that there's no winning unless we both win. So there's no point, it's just pointless just fighting, because even if you think you've won the argument, if there's that distance and that chasm between you, then you've both lost. It's just, yeah. And the case building thing, it was like the top one on that everyone referred to, and it was right up there. So I'm not alone and it's something to work on. So thank you, everyone.
It's your profession. That's a problem. You're an auditor. There you go.
And both Sarah, David, but a lot of us are rewarded in the workplace for coming from our head, for figuring shit out, from logically fixing problems. And we come home and our partner doesn't want to be fixed. They want empathy and understanding. So Jay, you unmuted yourself. What did you want to share? And then we're going to two more, and then we're going to wrap this up for the day.
Well, I made some notes, different things you talked about, partners in pain, either it's my fault or my responsibility. And, I mean, that kind of struck me because I'm always trying to fix things, or I get angry if I can't fix things.
Right.
And some, like you were saying, sometimes people don't want to be fixed, or in a moment. And so it's just a lot of good information. When you explain things that, oh yeah, well, if I could express myself that way, it would sure be different. If we can have the wise words at the right time.
Well, Jay, do you want to know what the greatest aphrodisiac is?
Sure.
The ability to be with your partner when they're in pain, upset, angry, whatever it is. It's amazing how healing it is. Like, that ability to be with. So thank you, Jay. Anybody else? One last one, and then we're going to call it a day. Ana Prava.
I do feel it's so powerful, locating head, heart, or hurt. and how to really tune into your own hurt, you know, my own hurt, my heart, what's happening in my head when I'm feeling hurt, scared, vulnerable, and the courage it takes to stay in my heart when I'm communicating, right, from the heart. So I do appreciate this awareness, because otherwise I think it can get really messy, right? It's all like happening all together, and the shock, the trauma, everything starts just impacting on such a big, you know, it's like what's what. So I love this how you simplified it, this really complex, you know, human nature of ours, you know, and our biochemistry, and the body does hold this, you know, we hold all our trauma inside of us. We feel it. We're being activated every second of the day, all the time, you know? So this really helps. Am I in my head? You know, and I loved how you did this. Am I in my head? And really just go to your head. Am I in my head? You know, wow, okay, am I here? Or am I in my hurt? Am I in my reptile, my fight, flight, flee, fawn? You know, am I there? And like take stock in the body. Where am I in my body, right?
Yeah.
Am I that scared puppy? You know, that little happy puppy. And then am I in my heart? So what does it feel like to be in my heart? What does it feel like to communicate from my heart? What does it feel like to hear in my heart, you know, from the other? Oh, and just feel then my whole nervous system, just like tune into the nervous system, what's happening, and just take a breath and slow down and be able to just feel what's happening. So really appreciate that, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for this amazing event, and thank you to Scott, who's getting ready for his big show tonight, and Love Coach Academy for being such a format for these tools. And the thing to think about is this is a gym. It's not a place you come to get fixed one time. Like I'm here, I got fixed, and now I can go home. It's a gym where you come and you work out your compassionate communication skills, and then you go and get tested. You know, so Eli and Monica, you know, you've got a little ways to go on the pregnancy. The tests are going to get amplified. Sorry to tell you that. That's they're going to get accelerated. So it's really important for you to get lots of practice in, because as the hormones kick in even more, they're going to get even more amplified, and there's going to be more love and more connection. And hi, Willow. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for your time and energy. We will see you again sometime soon. Ciao.
Ciao.
This was awesome, Paul. Bye.
Awesome. It was awesome, Paul. Thank you so much.
Totally awesome.
Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.